Hey guys, so in this video I want to show you the 325x ROAS principle. So this is CBO campaign. You can see here, this pretty much just in like Q4. So $106,000 in sales, 325x ROAS. So I want to show you the major principles and the major like considerations when you're launching CBO campaigns, when you're optimizing, and when you're scaling. Now CBO will become officially, it's like for everyone. Facebook says it will be very soon in February 2020. They tried to announce it like a few times already, so it's not clear whether that will be final, but I think that will actually happen. So everyone will need to use CBOs, and pretty much the major kind of like difference between CBOs and ABO is like you optimize on the campaign level. So you just set up the budget on the campaign, and then Facebook distributes it to the necessary ad sets. And I'll show you some of the principles that I use for optimizations for CBOs that allow me to maintain that profitability. Now, with CBOs and generally, like you will see that CBOs generally are more consistent, and especially higher budget CBOs, they're more consistent than, for example, regular ABO, especially with lower budgets, because the budget is big, and obviously some days will fluctuate, some days will be worse, some days will be better, but over time you can see. So this is lifetime performance of this campaign, and this is cold acquisition, right? So pretty good performance for the cold acquisition. A break-even ROAS in this account, for example, is approximately 1.7. So some of the things, right, about CBO, if you're not familiar, if you're familiar, that's good. But I think just to remind you, that will help you to kind of like get better perspective on CBO. So we optimize your campaign budget in real time on an opportunity by opportunity basis. Our goal is to get you the best results possible, and for the cost of these results to align with your bid strategy, right? So pretty much like Facebook has a goal to make you as much money as possible, for you to be as profitable as possible, obviously taking into consideration all other advertisers and taking into consideration like how good your ads are and how well your website converts, right? So all of these factors are obviously considered, and the campaign pretty much like actively monitors each ad's targeting and performance, and then the budget is allocated to best performing ad sets. Now, sometimes you might have seen that inside of the CBO, you have the budget allocated to the assets that are not necessarily the best performing. So in that case, what we do is, and that's what I personally do, is pretty much just shut down the ads for that particular ad set, right? And obviously, there are other ways to manage it. Some people just leave it running. For me, I like to optimize. I like to pretty much allocate my ad spend where it's the most profitable, the most consistent for me. And instead of like manually shifting budget between ad sets, Facebook algorithm basically assesses like all of these data points and adjusts the budgets for you, kind of like puts different budgets into different for different assets. So most of the people, the way they optimize their campaigns, pretty much like allocating like small budgets for many assets, right? Like many small assets, like $5-10 assets. And the way, it's kind of like, it makes the complexity, right? It makes the complexity in your ad account, and also it makes the whole like management more difficult. Whereas here, for example, again, guys, like for example, this campaign here spent like $32,000. There's not much optimization that was done here on this level. There is not much optimization that was done here on this level. Now, if you're looking basically for insights, from this account and from other accounts, from CBOs campaigns that we run, and for specific formulas, for checklists, for specific approach that you can use for testing, for optimization, for scaling your CBO campaigns, there should be a link somewhere below where you can get the CBO training. You can get pretty much like the latest strategies and the most efficient strategies for scaling your CBO campaigns performance. Now, pretty much like you will see that right now Facebook algorithm is so efficient. Then if you have like good variables in place, if you have good ads, if you have good products, if your website converts, then you can put like high budgets on it, and you can have like very little involvement into management of your campaigns, and it will actually be more profitable than if you were just like every day you just several times you log in and check your ads performance. So pretty much this is you might have seen this before. This is with campaign budget optimization. Pretty much Facebook would decide, let's say you put like $30 here, and Facebook would decide like each asset to allocate budget to, whereas on asset budget optimization, you would just, each of the assets would have the budget, and you would like allocate the budget more efficiently. Now, so here they show like total conversions 15, and here versus here total conversions 10. It's not necessarily the case. It's not necessarily that CBO will be more efficient for you, at least like initially, because there's this transition phase, right? If you always ran your campaigns with small budgets, now you're trying to do with higher budgets. If you always have been setting up your campaigns with asset budget optimization, now you're trying campaign budget optimization. Obviously, there will be like transition period where your ROAS might not be as high. And if you're looking for shortcuts, if you're looking for, basically formulas that work for optimization, for testing, for scaling, then again, guys, there's a link below this video where you can find the, the full like CBO training that, helped already like hundreds, even like thousands of people already that have used that training to get amazing results with their campaigns on Facebook. Now, few things that you need to remember, and these are like the few principles that you need to remember to get like great results with CBO, right? So first, set broad parameters, right? So a lot of people when they approach, and this came from, very like, this came from like other sources, like different sources, like you need to be very specific, they will tell you like you need to be very specific in your targeting. You need to have like this audience and then narrow it down with this audience, and then the size of the audience should be like, very little. Whereas Facebook algorithm, it needs time and space to learn, right? So if you set, broad parameters, like for example, if you set, just age, gender, and country. So this is one of the best performing assets that we've had for some of our products, where you don't even have like targeting options, you don't even have like interests, or you don't even have lookalikes. So in this case, like Facebook will have like full flexibility to find buyers in those huge audiences. And when you will see by the data, so for example, these ones here, they're also quite open. They're only like the sizes of the audiences here, like 5, 10, 15, 20 million. So these are big audiences. And sometimes we have audiences of like 60 or even 100 million people. Now, so set broad parameters. Don't overly restrict Facebook. Some people restrict it with placements. We pretty much always use automatic placements, no matter what the product is, no matter what, the niche is, unless you're selling something specifically for, for a specific device or for a specific, type of people. But most of the time you just want to have it pretty much like simplified. Now, align your goals with the realistic outcomes. So, for example, if you optimize for conversions, right? And obviously, if you're starting from a new account, or if you already have data on your account, then CBO campaigns will take generally more time to learn, right? And CBO is not kind of like some fairy, like it's not some magic. So for example, if you let's say you set like a campaign for CBO like of, I don't know, like $10, and then inside of that CBO campaign you have like, I don't know, 5 different ad sets, and then inside of each of those ad sets you have like 3 ads. Then each one of those ads on a daily basis, let's say you have like $30 campaign, the total budget per day, and then you have 15 variables. You have, let's say, 5 ad sets and 3 ads in each, so 15 variables total. Pretty much each one of those on a daily basis will only get $2, right? Like $2 worth of data, which is not enough. So you have to think about it in that perspective. So that's why we have like 500, 600. Sometimes you might have seen my other accounts where we have like $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 budget per CBO, and we find even like more consistency with those higher budget CBO campaigns. So another thing is that it's kind of like half myth, so that Facebook like asset requires at least 50 conversions for stable delivery. It's not always the case. So if that was the case, it's pretty much if you have if you have been like through like 50 conversions, then your delivery would be just perfect and very stable. Also, it's not the case. Like for example, here, like the way I look at it is when I launch CBO campaign is that I'm looking for positive outliers. Like for example, CBO campaigns that just perform well from the start. And so when I do that is pretty much, when I launch the CBO campaign, if it doesn't get me like a sale, or it's not profitable, or it's like metrics don't look good within the first like $50, $100, $200 in ad spend, then I just shut it down and I want to like reevaluate and change some variables in that CBO, because it's not that it like magically after 50 conversions it will start like be highly profitable. I found it's more likely it will be profitable from the beginning, and then it will be profitable, or it will not be profitable. Sometimes there are exceptions to this rule. Sometimes CBO is not profitable for the first like day 2, 3, and then starts to become profitable. But then obviously you'll need to wait for like 2, 3 days, and that will be like loss, right? If it doesn't perform, then it's pretty much loss. So be aware of that it's not like 50 conversions always. This is not always the fact. Now, set minimums and maximums. I don't like to set maximums. I pretty much stick with minimums. So for example, if you have in your ad set, if you're having your like campaign, let's say you have budget of 500 again, and let's say you have like 5 ad sets in there, and each of those has like 3 ads, then you want to like basically more or less like evenly distribute that ad spend. So you don't want to like one asset only receive like $1 worth of data, another one to receive like 499 worth of data, another ones don't receive like another, like no data at all, right? No money from Facebook, right? So you want to initially, at least to properly test them, you want to give them sufficient budgets to test. So that is set up on the asset level. So you can basically set up the minimum budget for the asset inside of the CBO. So that will help you to distribute your budget more evenly and more efficiently. Now, guys, make sure to utilize this feature to kind of like more like properly test different assets within the CBO. If you're looking for more details and specific strategies you can use for your CBO campaign, for testing, for optimization, for scaling, there's a link below this video where you can get the exact framework, and you can get pretty much like the whole blueprint on how to do it for your particular business. And I show you inside of like real ad accounts, specific assets, specific strategies, specific CBOs, not like you might have seen in the past where it's just like a bunch of theory and not many like real results from those strategies. So check it out. The link should be below in the comments. Let me know what you think in the comments so I know what content to prepare for you guys for the next videos. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys.